If you take a snapshot of us with our colleagues, there's not many women in our space. So representation matters.
When you look at the NBA kind of umbrella, more women are now starting to crack in, but it's because of the ones that were already there.
We got to do it because we got to show the next generation that it's possible and that they can do what they want to do too.
I love this game. It's like my obsession. It's my life.
In your face. In Giannis's grill.
Sometimes you feel like I shouldn't be here. People like me shouldn't be here, and how the heck did I get here? And it's like, I should have stopped a long time ago. Thank God I didn't. I really was like obsessed with getting here, with no guarantee that I'd get here. To be back in Miami was really crazy. Really cool being back here. A lot of running on this court. I spent 5 years here at the University of Miami. Niagara Falls is my home. It's where my family is. But Miami is where I became Amy. I learned a lot of lessons here. Number one, it never goes as planned. I moved here when I was 17 years old. A month after I turned 18, I was diagnosed with 3 herniated discs in my back. In an instant, my identity was no longer a basketball player. My identity, I had to refine it, and I did it in the weight room. And I actually did it on the Stairmaster. You're literally climbing, like I'm climbing through a really adverse time. I didn't know what I was gonna be doing, but I knew I was gonna get there. I had to literally just keep climbing every single day. I graduated and my visa expired. I went from living in a high-rise in downtown Miami, right beside the Kaseya Center, by the way, to my parents' basement on a recliner. I didn't even have a bed. I slept on a recliner for like years because I said, I don't want a bed. I don't want to get comfortable here. I had to work 3 jobs, calling college games with milkshake in my hair because I had just done a 12-hour shift serving at a casino, to WNBA, and then the next step was the G League. For me, nothing cracked until I got hired with the Raptors, which was 2 years ago.
We're coming out and setting a tone. 24 points in the first half. How much value do you put into that?
After the Raptors, I had a phone call about this full-time analyst job. With the Miami Heat, you got a job. Like, you have to do this.
This is absolutely a dream come true, driving into under 95 a couple of days ago, and I'm pitching myself. I know the expectation of Heat culture, and I'm so thrilled to be on the journey.
Feeling like a part of not just any organization, but the Miami Heat. There's something really unique and special about being here in Miami, and you feel it every day you come to work.
When people turn on the TV or turn on the radio, they're inviting you in, like into their homes, into their cars, and that's pretty cool. Like, and that's not something we should ever take for granted.
27 attempts, but none of them were bad shots. They were all calculated, automatic. He's snapping into his offense. It's because of the work he's put in.
When the team's on the road and I'm not with them, then I'm in the studio working with Will Manso, and we do pregame, halftime, postgame. And if they're home, then I'm doing pregame and postgame with Jax, and then I get to call the game on the radio.
Time now for Amy's keys to victory.
Pace the Pacers. This team is going to come at you quick, fast, in a hurry from every position, so everything they do is with pace.
I usually wake up pretty early on a game day and do my keys. I want to make sure that they really are accustomed to the game and the matchup and who's playing and who's not playing. Because the first one's fast break, and that's the point I'm going to make. Like, listen, if you play great defense and you get stops, steals, deflections, the best thing to do against a good defense is not actually have to play against a set defense. We find our own clips. We find our own angles or topics, so it's actually quite a bit of work. For the 2-man game, sorry, what I meant was like pick and rolls and handoffs and stuff like that. Bam and Tyler, Bam and Duncan doing a lot. I keep going back to that 2-man game with Bam. We've seen Tyler and Terry get to it. Don't forget, Duncan and Bam have this incredible chemistry that they've developed over the years. It's a lot more than I think people probably realize. Being a woman in sport broadcasts, and especially in a professional men's league, I try not to think about too much. I want to show up and do my job just like everybody else.
It's a post-to-post switch. You go to a reverse pivot a lot. Why?
One, I like to see the middle of the court. And usually if I blow by him, there's nobody on the baseline.
Because I'm a woman, because I don't have a huge name as a basketball player and all that stuff, like I do have a smaller margin of error or forgiveness from most people who watch at home. I better be paying attention to detail all the time.
See, man, we need to get on the phone with her more often. She knows what she's talking about.
There's no, okay, I'm here and now I can coast. It's almost like your foot has to be on the gas a little bit harder because the platform's so much bigger. There's no shortcuts to being prepared in terms of your work. Not everyone gets the opportunity to call games at any level. When I speak to young women that want to do this, it's the best job in the world. And I want them to see that through me, how much I love doing that. But then also at the same time, having those same conversations about the reality of this industry. Millions of people want to work in the NBA. So just understanding the process of things. I always just say, dreams aren't perfect. They come true, but they don't come free. So just kind of buckle up.
Everyone needs to remember that you need to be the person who believes in you. You need to be the person who says, you know what? I got this. I can do this. This person might say X, Y, and Z. They're wrong, and I'm going to show them. Well, I was born and raised here in Miami, Florida. I grew up in Palmetto Bay, and my entire life was sports. There's so much talk about being a woman in sports and what's it like to be a woman in a male-dominated industry. And I have so many different thoughts and feelings and emotions about it. But I'll start with this one. Sports was always my comfort zone. My entire life, I never felt more comfortable than when I had a ball in my hand and when I was out and I was competing. So when I came into the sports industry, from being behind the scenes as a production assistant to working my way on camera, I always felt like that's where I belong.
Full count. You're the winning run. What are you trying to do in that situation? ¿Qué estaba tratando de hacer en esa situación?
With the Miami Marlins, I wear many different hats. I report as a sideline reporter. I also produce and host a show called Marlins Clubhouse, and I also do some radio analyst work for about 40 games during the season.
It is our very own Kelly Saco, and she is making history. She is the first woman ever to call a Marlins game for the radio broadcast.
Then the opportunity came to work here with the Heat, and it's a dream come true to be able to not only do what I love, but to do it at home.
Well, in the meantime, go have fun with your teammates. We hear the music blasting. Congratulations, and thanks for the time.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me.
Back to you guys.
Here we go. Makeup time. Preparation for a game doesn't start and end on a game day. Really, once the season starts, it is a continuous circle. You are watching every single game. You're taking notes. I read every single article I can get my hands on, not just of the Miami Heat and our team, but the visiting team as well. So a lot of research, a lot of watching games, a lot of reading. I think a lot of people have said to me, and I take it as a compliment, they tell me, "Yo, you're such a natural on television." And I think, well, I worked really, really hard to make it look easy. And I look back and think, okay, this was not always easy for me. So what I would really want people to know is all the hard work it takes to make it look easy. As for a day in the life for me, I pull up and then I head straight to the truck to go say hello to all the hardworking guys behind the camera. Okay, this is the hardest part of the day, is going up the stairs in the heels. That deserves a cookie. I always check in with my pregame and my in-game producer, and we discuss what's going on that day. Hey, AJ.
Good to
Hi,
see
Ross.
you.
What's going on, guys? Oh, I already kicked someone's stuff. I'm sorry. Can't take me anywhere.
So then that's where we talked about, they started 3-7, but 29 cents, and then you can go to what you wanted to go to.
Right, coming off a fantastic January. And then from there, I usually head over to listen to SPO. This is where the cool kids sit.
And we're still trying to figure out our rotation right now.
Pre-game, I'll have a couple responsibilities. So I usually do what we call one hit, which is a story in the pre-game show. And then right before they tip off, I'll do our pre-tip hit.
For the Heat, they're starting a 4-game streak right here at home and they're looking to start it off on the right foot. But of course, first they got to get through the Clippers.
The other aspect of my job too is to host the halftime show. I sit alongside the coach, Ron Rothstein. He is wonderful, and I try to tee it up for him to talk about what he's seen so far during the game.
How have they been able to contain their offense?
Well, the first thing is you always have to contain the ball off the dribble.
Post-game, it kind of depends whether we win or lose. So hopefully the Heat win, because that means I get to do 2 post-game walk-off interviews, one in the winner's circle right there on the court. In the case of a loss, I still go into the locker room and interview the guys and try to find out, what might have happened during that game that didn't result in a win.
I started as production assistant for what was then Fox Sports Florida. I was 22 years old. I did not know anything, and I was here as a utility in my jeans and my Converse and running around not knowing what I'm doing, following the camera guy with the wires, and they treated me with just as much respect back then and support back then as they do now. And having that support early on, I really do think helps set me up for success later in life.
Thanks so much, guys. It's always great to have Bam here in the winner's circle, but I'm going to hand it off to Autumn, who's going to be handling this interview. Bam.
Hi.
Hi.
I tried to pave the way for the younger women coming after me by being as accessible and supportive as possible. It just means the world when you have somebody who's truly just cheering you on to say, hey, you got this, you can do this, this is what I went through, this is what helped me, please ask me any questions you want. I will do anything that I can to help you succeed.
I think as a woman, the number one thing you can do for other women is to reach your potential in that position that you're in. My journey has not been a linear path. It has taken quite a few different pivots, and I say that as a post player. I was the first class going into college that knew there'd be an opportunity to play in the WNBA when I graduated. And to be drafted in the WNBA was a dream come true, but a short dream because I didn't know to dream it as a young girl. My dream was to play in the Olympics, and I'm very blessed that that came true in 2004, where I was able to represent our country there. One part of my journey is that I've played a different role on every team that I've played on. And that's something that has really helped me throughout my career, and I find that's very helpful for me today.
Well, I've known Ruth for a very long time. She doesn't know this. But I actually was in high school, starting to get into basketball, and I think it was a Sports Illustrated. And I had kept that for so long because I loved your game and followed you. She was awesome. She is awesome, but I mean, when she was playing, she was awesome.
In the broadcast space, I remember meeting you at Summer League. Jax introduced us, and I thought, oh, this is, it's just great to meet other women in our space, and there's not many of them, and so we kind of stand out. I think what most people don't know about me is that I'm actually an introvert, and so being on TV was definitely something that stretched my comfort zone.
Ruth, welcome. We're so happy to have you.
Well, I'm thrilled to be back with the Miami Heat organization, and it's really exciting to start this broadcasting career. Doing TV, that was something that really challenged me to take my experience as a player, to continue to build onto my skill set, to be able to articulate that in a way that would engage and educate our fans. We have an amazing broadcast team, and so just to be a part of it was an honor. Keeping opponents under 100, and so that's been the recipe for success. Got to start the first quarter well, but we saw them finish the second half well, and so great signs moving ahead. The one person who supported me from the start was actually Ted Ballard. Really, even from the interview process, he was supportive. And then I will say Jax on TV was so supportive of me, and Will as well.
This is the Hall of Famer. She's the champion. She's Ruth Riley-Hunter.
It was an honor to be the first woman on the radio broadcast.
Nice cut to the free throw line, wide open against that zone.
Doing radio was really seamless for me. The game created its own narrative. I could put on a headset. Mike made it very easy for me to jump in beside him and call the action. There's great synergy between the two, and Wade usually sets him up pretty good. And you're rolling the dice of who you get to work with. I mean, I got to play on an all-star team here with our broadcast team, and I loved every minute of it. My first few years here with the Heat, I was on the broadcast team solely, and then had a year where I did a hybrid of front office and broadcast together, and then was able to transition fully over to the front office as a senior director of team development. There are two big buckets that my job entails, and the first one's going to be analytics. That's something that as a player I've always been analytically wired. And then with player programs, from the moment we sign a player, we want to make sure that they know we're here for them and that we're here to help them get acclimated to the city, to find their house that they need, the schools that they need, and to take care of everything so they can focus on what the main thing is, and that's here on the court. When I think of supporting women, the first individual that comes to mind is my husband, because I think those who are closest to you are the ones that you're really going to draw strength from. And there's not a bigger advocate in my life than Ben, and so I'm so grateful for him. We just had a little boy 15 months ago, and so Theo is just this ball of energy. It's been really fun for both of us to bring this little guy into the world. Some of the skills that I've learned as a working mom, I think the first thing that comes to mind is really being able to be very conscious of my time. Finding that ability to navigate both those worlds. And the second lesson to me is also just how to be very in the moment and present to what I'm doing at that time. Today we're covering off-ball movements. Don't round it off and just cut through, okay? Make sure she gets across. Here we go. Nice, nice. Good pass, good finish. I've had incredible mentors in my life, and because I know personally how much they've impacted me, I just, out of gratitude for what they've done, I want to make sure that I'm available and intentional about giving back to the next generation. It's really important to see other women in our space, and not just because you're a woman, but also you give such a different perspective to the analytics department. You know, I think that that's really important, not just to want to be a mentor, but also to create that time and space to be able to really be available to people. I am somebody who had this intersection of being a woman in sport in different ways. Every woman has their own unique and individual journey.
People think about the success, but they don't think about all the hard work that leads up to it. There's a lot of opportunities that I did not succeed in. You have to keep fighting for what you want.
We are the voices. We are the people that call games, tell stories. While we work incredibly hard, we make a living because of the game of basketball. When I think of women in sports, I can't wait till it's just people in sports that go to work every day, not necessarily just a woman in sport. I mean, it's a blessing and a responsibility and all this stuff, but for me, like, I've never wanted that to be like my identity. I just want to wake up and do the best job I can every day.
Because we were athletes, like, sports was always just a comfort zone for me. So to be in the professional level, I always thought, hey, this is my comfort zone. Why is this such a big topic?
I think it's important because of the people who aren't in our circles, right? If you take a snapshot of us, big picture, with our colleagues, there's not many women in our space. Representation matters, but I do agree, like, every day when we come to do our job, we do the best job we can. And you know, it's not just because we're women, it's because how we're wired. Pretty sure the ball doesn't know if you're a guy or a girl.
There you go, that's well put.
Yeah.
You guys clinched the playoffs. What is your motivation to come out here and fight for this performance tonight?
When I got into broadcast, I only did sideline. I wanted to work in the NBA at the end of the day, but Doris was still on the sideline and like just starting to get analyst jobs. So when she started kind of cracking in and getting those opportunities, it kind of was like that benchmark of like, not that anyone's walking into that, but just like there is one person doing it and you just need that first one to believe there can be a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I thought the same thing. I'm like, okay, well, the women are doing sideline, so I guess this is what I'm doing. And it wasn't until I started seeing women in the booth that on the baseball end where I do my analyst work, I thought, oh, okay. Oh, I didn't realize that this was possible.
And they just know they can worry about attacking the batters and let their defense do their work.
We got to show the next generation that it's possible and that they can do what they want to do too.
And it's not just doing it. You guys are amazing at what you do. And so, you know, I think that's an important piece. It's not just a woman holding a position. It's a woman thriving and, you know, calling a great game that matters.
My mother was an athlete. She was an Olympic swimmer, so I think that she kind of put it in my head at a very, very young age that you gotta fight, and you gotta fight for what you want, and you gotta be tough, and you gotta go after it.
I don't have a name for being a basketball player, so For me to get an audition or an interview or to look at my reel, it had to be because there was another woman that was really good, and they're like, oh, let's give it a try. I know it would be fine once I got the opportunity, but it was getting the opportunity or getting the door open.
Activity off ball is elite. I mean, those feet were moving the entire possession, whether you had the ball or not.
When you look at the NBA kind of umbrella, more women are now starting to crack in, but it's because of the ones that were already there who did a good job.
Even though there might not have been, especially for Ruth, women who came before her in that role, thanks to Ruth, we're able to follow in her footsteps. So thank you.
Oh, yeah, thank you so much.
I watched your 2001 championship.
Oh my goodness, that was a
You
lot of
played
fun.
amazing. That was really impressive.
Thank you.
I know everybody wants to go from A to B quickly, but don't forget there's a lot in between. And don't be scared of that, like embrace that, because that's how you get better, right?
So let's look around. Tell me, what do you got?
We have to start with Bernie gears since it's Bernie's birthday.
I think hopefully the future of women in sports is, like you said, to start everything, is that it's not a topic of conversation. We're seeing just as many women as we're seeing men, and it's just like any other industry where you've got a little bit of everybody.
You know, there's still such ignorance out there about, you know, women in sports, women as executives, women in the front office, on air. And while we can't personally change that narrative with every individual, I do think that society has to move in that direction where they just respect women more.
You just want to be able to like sit at the table as well and have conversations and be in positions to actually hire the right people and showing every day that you're capable of doing a job, not just as good as a man, just doing the job.
And until society views that type of viewpoint and having the diverse opinions and diverse views, then only then is everything going to change.
The last thing I'll say, it's good for the game, right? Yes. I mean, because diversity, not just diversity matters, but the ability to make the best decisions, project the best game to our fans. You have to have different personalities, you have to have different intellect. It grows the game, it pushes the game to a different level, and that's just better for all of us.